anxious to step through the gate again, Major?
Yes, I am.
We all are.
Would you like us to bring back anything special?
No thanks.
Groceries, new outfit, flatware?
No, just yourselves in one piece, please. Dial it up. Be safe.
Welcome to the Jumping Puddles podcast. Be sure to listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and or YouTube. And follow us at Jumping Puddles Podcast on Tumblr and Instagram, and Jumping Pud Pod on Twitter. If you want to support our podcast, be sure to check out our coffee. Hi, I'm Sam, and with me are my fellow co-hosts, Tor and Ash.
Hey.
Hi.
And today we are watching Conversion. Colonel Sheppard begins to undergo a disturbing physical transformation after being exposed to Beckett's anti-wraith drug. Beckett must work on a way to save him before it's too late.
Dun, dun.
Oh, that might be our worst one.
It was terrible.
Moons and months.
For a summary, that was super scary sounding as well.
I know, not the horror one. We messed it up.
So, welcome to Conversion, aka the Fly-inspired episode of Stargate Atlantis. Many episodes of SGA are nods to sci-fi movies, or just contain references to them. But this one is an obvious homage to my most beloathed, but also very good movie, The Fly.
We literally just had like a good 5-minute conversation about all the bug episodes in SG1. Terrifying to realize there's more than one. More than 3.
One that
and it's the second one in Atlantis.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, you're right.
Oh, yeah. 38 minutes. How could we forget?
Yeah.
It was referenced.
That happened.
They are good, I guess, for scaring the shit out of you, but like...
Sheppard hates them, and so do we.
Yeah, maybe it's like the tarantula for Tolkien, because I think he was bitten once by a tarantula, and then he just put giant spiders into all of his books.
So why did he want to traumatize us as well? He was like, it's not only me that has to have the trauma. I'm going to traumatize all of y'all.
He was like, you know what's really scary? A tarantula.
Sharing.
You know what's scarier than a tarantula? A giant tarantula.
Yeah, sorry. We're bug antis here.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. How do we even start this one? This one is ginormous. So many things happen like in order, right? I feel like usually we kind of just like pick like a character or like an event and we just start there and we can kind of like branch out. But I guess we do that. We'll do that this time as well. But it's just funny that like it kind of feels like you need to almost go in order because you're watching like Sheppard transform and like trickle down and like things are going slowly but surely wrong, which feels very reminiscent of the horror aesthetic that Atlantis has got going on, which I have to say I'm obsessed with. And I'm kind of sad that they didn't lean more into it, because I think it would have been a really fun way to kind of set itself apart from its predecessor, SG1, if it kind of leaned into more of the, not gore, but like the horror and stuff like that, which they do sometimes. But I am grateful that they do it with this episode, because I think they pull it off so well.
Oh, yeah, it's great. The physical horror, the psychological horror. And it kicks off right away, like right at the beginning of the episode. They don't waste any time getting into it. We got our infirmary scene where Sheppard is being wheeled into the Atlantis infirmary by Beckett alongside Rodney with his splinter. And we already see the reveal that although Sheppard was a gory mess at the end of the last episode, his arm has completely healed. And he just has this weird, like, scaly spot on him where he was attacked, which was interesting. I also thought it was funny that Beckett mentions that Sheppard has a really strangely high tolerance for pain. So That's an interesting canonical character tidbit for Sheppard.
Really trying to make him Superman, huh?
Yep.
The Batman, they are really leading into his whole I am shadow, I am darkness boy kind of aesthetic that they want to make him out.
He has the emo vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially
it's
this
so
episode, which was great.
Oh, yeah.
He really leaned into it. The whole, like, keep the lights off.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And, like, the facing away.
Mm-hmm.
And the black fingernails.
Oh, yeah.
That were not technically voluntary.
I was gonna say, sometimes the Stargate makeup artists, it's okay. This time though, slay. I want to give credit where credit is due. I think they pulled off the Bug John look. I think he looks unsettling. I think he looks bug / reptilian-esque. And again, we're just jumping all over the place already. But the ending scene of him climbing in Atlantis.
Yeah.
Like a little roach, like a little spider when he's just climbing the walls. Scared the shit out of me. Like, it was kind of funny. Like, I was laughing a little bit, like, ha ha ha, like laughing out of like terror. Because it was honestly so spooky, and they did such a good job with it.
Yeah, also the just the transition from him just having like the little scaly mark on his arm, and then it's slowly growing and taking over his body was just amazing. The only thing, no, the makeup was insanely good. The only thing that there's one scene, I think, when it's kind of starting to take over his face, where I'm always, I don't know if it's unsettled or just like thrown off by his one eye, like the one contact that looks a little, I don't know, it looks a little off, but maybe I'm just nitpicking here, but it's always like, what happened? And yeah, no, it's amazing. I love it. I love the hand when the one scene where he's talking to Elizabeth, and she's so bad in, like, I don't know, and it's just talking to him and about his condition in this episode. But and they kind of look at his hand, and he just hides it. So good, so creepy, but so good.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was gonna say, let's talk about Elizabeth's terrible bedside manner, because I actually love her for it. I think it's such an endearing quality that she tries really hard to be, like, comforting and optimistic in the face of, like, death and terrible bodily mutation, and it just doesn't work. Sheppard is, like, a terrible patient in general, and, like, very... he doesn't have the most positive outlook in majority of situations, so I feel like he's the worst person that she could be practicing her bedside manner on, but also she's just not very good at it either, which is totally fair.
Yeah, I think it's so funny because she's a diplomat. Should this be something she excels at? But for some reason, no, she's not. I thought maybe it's because this time she's just really emotionally involved in this. And yeah, you're right. John is a terrible patient. He keeps talking about dying. Like, I feel like he has just fully accepted that he's gonna die, or that he should be killed because of what he's becoming. And he's really not making this easy for her. But I also love that he's calling her out on her terrible bedside manners. It's, so funny.
It's just hilarious. I think I made a tweet about it once. Like, he asked her, he's like, so what's the prognosis or whatever? And then she's like, oh, you're gonna be fine. And in my head, I'm like, he's turning blue. Like, how is he gonna be fine? I just, on what? Just terrible.
Yeah, and he immediately calls her out on that. Like, he's like, I'm gonna be fine. That's dead man talking. Now, what? I don't know what he said, but yeah, like, just a terrible thing to say in that situation. Then later she's just speechless, and he's like, anything that has you speechless has me worried. I'm like, oh dude, you have no idea.
True.
There's some really great Elizabeth and John this episode.
Oh, yeah.
It's just nice to just see Elizabeth because, I mean, I kind of forgot, like, we have really not, I mean, okay, yes, she was in Duet. She had a part in Duet, right? And she had a part in Trinity when she was like, yelling at Rodney. But I feel like, especially as compared to last season, I don't know, like maybe I'm just like romanticizing the last season, but I just feel like we haven't seen a lot of her. And it's just happy and like it just feels good to see her back in sort of like her original role, which is like more than just sort of the general or like the leader. Like she's very much like such a key member of the team, and like her leadership skills are just fully, you know, on display. And like the qualities that like make her such a good leader of Atlantis and just make her such like a good character and like a good like person, I guess, are all in this episode, right? Like she's so worried for John, and she's so like she wants to be, you know, she's there for him. She's trying her best, even if she doesn't know how to do it. But she's not doing what John would have done, right? She's not putting everything on the line for him. Like she's still taking care of Atlantis and not letting anyone cross that line.
Yeah.
And like, you know, she doesn't want to. She's keeping everything together, and she's like wanting to keep him alive as well. Best of both worlds, but she's not actively committing war crimes to get him back as he would have done for her or for Rodney or for anyone in the team. And so it's just really amazing to see her, especially because her and John have such a fun and like a really good dynamic this episode. And I will say I'm kind of not mad, but I'm just a little annoyed because they have such a good dynamic this episode. And it just kind of makes me sad. This is episode like what? Like 7?
8.
8? 8? This is episode 8. And I feel like we haven't seen them like this really all season, besides like the first episode, really. So yeah, so I'm a little mad that like it's just been so long since they've had like a good hangout session. But I'm happy we got it. I just want more.
Yeah, you're totally right. That she hasn't been a lot in the season so far because I feel like they were off-world a lot, just like doing their own thing, and she was just back in Atlantis. But yeah, I really liked how she managed to care for John, and still that they showed that she's not losing oversight over the whole city, because she was simultaneously dealing with the Caldwell situation, which was also extremely fun to watch, I thought.
Yeah, I think you guys are totally right. She is super pragmatic at the same time as being super caring. And I think it's hard for people in leadership positions to really, especially on TV, to maintain that balance without coming off as like callous. But she never comes off as like not caring. You can totally tell that there is a care there is a friendship there is a relationship there. The whole thing with the Caldwell situation, it was really smart and practical of her to assign Caldwell John's role on the base while his condition was kind of up in the air. Because this episode, I believe, takes place over a period of like 2 weeks. So 2 weeks on Atlantis without a military commander, when you're kind of like actively being hunted by an alien race that is hostile, is probably not a good idea. So it was smart of her to assign him, but she also didn't lose any or concede any authority to him. Like as soon as he started acting up and implementing military protocol without her permission or even discussing it with her first, she was already right away on top of it, being like, why would you do this? And I think it's great to see that confrontation. And it's also great because we get to see a sort of glimpse into her and Sheppard's partnership. It kind of makes it clear that Sheppard would go to her first and discuss something if he was making a change. And would be like, okay, this is going to be the new security in the situation, or this team is going to be this in this situation, which is cool. Nice to know that they work together well. I also thought it was super interesting that she actually wasn't opposed to the changes that Caldwell had made to what Sheppard had done. Just the way in which she did it. Again, being a compassionate leader while at the same time being smart about stuff. So not liking the underhanded way that Caldwell went about making changes, but also understanding that maybe he's right. I'm not saying Sheppard is a bad military leader on Atlantis, but I'm not the only one who has raised the idea that having two high-level expedition members on the same gate team, maybe not the smartest idea. Like, Sheppard and McKay being on the same gate team, Sheppard being the military leader, Rodney being the science leader. If something goes terribly wrong and they're both dead, that's terrible for the base. But, of course, the show would not be any fun without them being on the same team. And so, I understand. But anyway, yeah, Elizabeth, great.
Yeah, I want to jump in about what you said about what Caldwell did, and that she was not immediately shutting him down, and that she didn't like the way he did it, but also she didn't, like, the whole time she didn't lose sight of, like, morale of like the expedition, because I think she says something about if they do all the changes right now, not even like a day after Sheppard is in the infirmary and just not there, what kind of message would that send if they just started immediately making changes as soon as he was hopefully temporarily out of the picture? And I thought that was extremely interesting, because Caldwell, I think he's an interesting character. I think he's doing, like, he thinks he's doing the right thing. He's very convinced of the things he's doing, and he might even be right, but he doesn't see the whole picture. He doesn't see that just because he has this position right now means he can do whatever he wants, and that there are bigger things to consider. I thought this was really, really interesting. And I'm not sure if John is aware of that as well, but he just, as you said, Tor, he has just a different rapport with Elizabeth, and their dynamic is just like, it's just that he consults her when he wants to make changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly why Elizabeth and John work so well together, right? As like the leaders of this base. And why a military leader just doesn't work. Cough, cough, later seasons, cough, cough. Like, I don't know, there's just something so impersonal about having a military leader in charge, and also just like having that sort of like stereotypical military guy in charge of John's role, right? How different would the show be if John was like a straight up like, I believe in America type of guy, and like
on the head stage.
Yeah. Seriously, that would be horrible. The amount of infighting that it would have, happened between like Sumner and Elizabeth, Sumner and like, all the science people. Like, I'm sure, I don't really know how long that would have lasted, honestly. Like, I'm sure some protests, a little mutiny might have gone down. That could have been a whole season arc of John being like, all right, guys, we gotta get rid of Sumner. And then a whole mutiny happens, and then they ship him back to Earth and shut off the gate and say, no, Earth, you can't come back here.
Bye.
Like, bye, we're our own colony. Lauren and Parrish are gonna get married. Yeah, it's just so different. And that's what makes Atlantis so special to me, I think. Not a big part, but like a part of it is that it's less overbearing military. And so, well, it's fun though to see Caldwell come in and be that sort of like bad guy-esque character. Like, he's an interesting character because he's fun, and like, we make fun of him all the time, and like he has great scenes sometimes, but I love how they kind of sprinkle in like his awfulness. So like, you're so charmed by like his actor and like him being all nice to Elizabeth and being like, let's play poker, and like they just have like a nice, like, he seems to genuinely like Elizabeth. And then he turns around and he's like, yeah, John's about to die, so I'm going to change everything around here because he sucks at his job. And, like, it's like, whoa, like, where did this come from? Like, the 180 is wild. And I just like that sort of reminder that Caldwell brings, especially in this season. Like, hey, look, we could have had this. We could have had Sumner. We could have had this, like, super strict, hardcore, no nonsense. Like, when he tells Elizabeth that, like, he doesn't need to check in with her when it comes to military matters or whatever, it's like,
bitch.
Whoa, you bitch. Like, this is not Earth. This is Atlantis. This is the Pegasus Galaxy. We do things a little different around here. And so just, I just really like Caldwell this season. Sort of the different perspective that he brings. And again, it just sort of makes us, like the audience, just appreciate John all the more and this sort of character and his style of leadership, right? And how him and Elizabeth just work so well together. But yeah, Caldwell sucks sometimes, and he sucked this episode. But I'm happy he was here to remind everyone that John is the best person for this job. 2, so Elizabeth can get a bunch of her sassy lines in and absolutely kick his ass. Her lines in the episode, iconic. 10 out of 10. Bad bitch moment.
Yeah. I have 2 things to say about the Caldwell Elizabeth. The first one is about her amazing like comebacks. The last one, the last scene between them, when he says, what does he say? Oh, no matter what you might think, I'm not your enemy. And she's like, yeah, you don't want to be. And I always have to think of the edit you made, Sam.
Yes.
Was it for my birthday?
Yeah.
Yeah, I lost my fucking shit. I still think about this edit. And yeah, when this line came on, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah. That is an amazing line. And then she just walks away. She's like, hair flip and leaves. It's just, yeah, mic drop. Incredible. And then the other thing is, I honestly think personally that Caldwell has a massive crush on Elizabeth.
Oh yeah.
That's one of the reasons why he acts that way. And I think that maybe he sees the relationship that John... he's... For one, he's jealous of John's position, and he's also jealous of like the relationship that John and Elizabeth have, because they work so well together and they just have this friendship or whatever you want to see in there. So I think there's a lot of jealousy involved as well. But yeah, it doesn't, obviously it doesn't excuse his actions, and he's still acting like an ass. But yeah, I was glad he was there. And when when he asks if Elizabeth has, besides solitaire, also chess on her tablet, I was like, oh my god, she's so gonna kick his ass.
Oh yeah, I can see her being the queen of chess for sure. Even that.
Yeah, and her relationship with Caldwell, yeah, is just so interesting. Because yeah, I really sometimes feel like he's like just trying to hit on her. It's like, where did this come from?
Totally, yeah.
It's so funny. I think, I really don't mind that interpretation. It's just funny to me because, like, I guess, I don't know, like, especially because when she does, like, these super sassy lines, I'm just like, I love that, like, he's into her, and I get the, like, I just love the idea that she's not into him. Right? Because it's, like, I love that, like, he's so nice to her, and he's so, like, down bad, and then she gets to just be like, who are you? Or, like, what are you doing? Like, to my friend? Like, I don't know, I kind of just love that. That sort of dynamic is really fun. And again, it's just nice that, like, at least one person, like, he has one person on the base that he's, like, kind of cool with. Because obviously, like, he has tension with literally everyone else. And for the right reasons. But it's just nice to humanize him a little bit by just having that moment where he can be cool and he can be nice. And then he turns around and he backstabs you.
Yeah, I think they are, like, generally speaking, I think they are on good terms. Like, yes, they butt heads a lot, but they don't hate each other, in my interpretation. It's just that they disagree on a lot of things. Probably one of the main reasons because he's such a military guy, and he's definitely not. And yes, but yeah, fun dynamic.
Yeah, even that one line at the end, too, where he's still kind of, they know Sheppard's going to be okay, and he's convalescing. And he's still being like, if Sheppard returns to his position in active duty. And Elizabeth is like, when he returns to active duty? And she's amazing. What can I say? I also, in particular, really like the exchange where Caldwell is like, I know you and Sheppard are super close, and, like, if you want to talk about how you feel with me, that's cool. And she totally shuts him down and doesn't even acknowledge that he said that. And I I love that bit because I feel like it works on multiple levels. Like for her character, she is a very private person, I feel like, and so she wouldn't want to be like divulging her personal emotional feelings about it. She has to maintain her appearance as a leader as well and appear as emotionally unaffected as possible so that she looks clear-minded and that people don't question her authority, particularly Caldwell, who is already undermining her authority. So yeah, I just love her working on so many levels. It's just wonderful. It was a good scene.
Yeah, I love that she just immediately shuts down the his idea or his insinuation that there's something, that could affect her decisions concerning John because of the relationship they have.
Right.
It's really good. She's not having it.
We see evidence of that later on in the episode too, where no matter how close they are and how much she wants him to live, like after those 2 military dudes die trying to get the Ratus sample, she's like, I'm not sending any more people for one man. Even though she really cares about him, the team really cares about him, she's got to think of the greater good. So I love that she strikes that balance between the emotional and the leader without me being like, oh, she's cruel or, oh, she doesn't care. Like, I never feel that way about her, ever.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. John could never. This is why
yes,
he
exactly.
could never on God's green earth be the leader of Atlantis. Y'all, there's no way in hell anyone should be putting this man in charge. Military leader, fine, because Elizabeth is the head honcho. She can control him. She will keep him in line. Him in general, as the leader, absolutely the fuck not. Atlantis would be gone.
Or maybe the crew contingent is only like AR1 because everyone else just was sent off to some rescue missions for, I don't know, Rodney or Teyla or whatever. And John was just kept sending people.
Sacrificing.
Because he had to get his husband back. Whatever. He would be horrible. He doesn't have this.
The emotional maturity.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to let go. Which is like tea, but like, it's her.
And I think this episode even sort of says that in a weird way, where he's talking about how he feels going through the transformation. And he mentions how it feels like, quote unquote, the best week of his life when he got to be on codeine for a week because he got his wisdom teeth pulled. That is the scariest line I think John Sheppard has ever said on Atlantis. But I also think it explains a lot about him. Again, he hates having feelings. So to have this agent numbing both his physical and emotional responses to things was like the best week of his life. And so being Bug John is also great because he doesn't feel anything. So wow. Someone get Heitmeyer on the phone because
I was just gonna say, sir, please go to therapy.
No, like, he's crazy. Like, oh my god. I love that line and am terrified of it. Because just the implications of it all, right? And it's also just like, I mean, you can go like super in depth too. Like, I wonder what age this was at, right? Like, he doesn't really say that. And I wonder when this was in his life. Is he living at home still? Is he in California in college? Like, I don't know what the whole deal is. Is he, where is he at? But yeah, that's terrifying. And the fact that he like is genuinely like, yeah, that was one of the best weeks of my life. That was one of the best weeks of your, and that one little line, and I just love how sometimes one line can say everything. And obviously, I don't know if we really picked it up until like, we talked about it before, this line, but I'm sure like this is not like one of the most like recognizable little lines about John, right? But I just love that one line can tell you so much about his character. If when this episode premiered, how John fans or how just Atlantis fans in general reacted to hearing this piece of information, right? They don't know about where he got blacklisted. They don't know why any of that happened. So to get this little piece of information, or one of the best weeks of his life is when he is numb all over, is like would have been like a huge bombshell. And it's a bombshell for us today because it's like, even though we don't know his background, it's still like, I think John's sort of just issues, I guess, are kind of like, they're not subtle, but I feel like for regular or like for people who aren't like, obsessively like scanning the text like we are, or like, or like aren't like on Tumblr or Twitter or whatever, I feel like most people are like, oh, John's such a happy-go-lucky guy. Like, I don't know if a lot of people realize how genuinely sad and like just a traumatized man he is. And this episode, just all of his issues are on display. And we get another episode later on where his abandonment issues are on display, which that'll be fun. But, it's his control issues, his like feelings, his whole, just everything about him as a character is like raw and vulnerable for everyone to see. And I do kind of get a little sad that people, I feel like, kind of miss that. And it's just these little lines that just give so much depth.
Yeah, I think I'm actually one of those people who thought he was like a happy-go-lucky guy before we started this podcast. And I was like, oh, okay, no. This man is depressed. He needs help. Yeah, but I think not only do we see like his character in a different light in this episode, but also it's all just exemplified because not exemplified, amplified because of what this bug thing is doing to him, because I think it's messing extremely hard with his brain. Yeah, in the way I interpret this is just that it maybe exaggerates a lot of his feelings, emotions, character traits.
Oh man, it's just so sad. John's just so sad this episode. So it's when he's already like basically gone towards the last like 20 minutes, I think, of the episode. And so they give him that drug, right, to make him like lucid. So he can go on that mission. And it rips my heart out. That his first question is, did I hurt anyone? And I just think that just says, again, it's just these little moments that just give so much character to who he is as a person. And that this would just be horrible for him, I think, right? Not to bring up the therapist chair and to psychoanalyze my guy John, but I'm just going to crawl into his brain for a second. But like, it's just crazy to me that I think, we've talked a lot about how like Antarctica, like, how he's blacklisted, blah, 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 how like coming here, he's kind of been like getting used to being around people, having these feelings and being like around a so-called like family that he didn't have, right? It's like his surrogate family. And it's these little lines like, did I hurt anyone? And when he says, I'm not safe to be around anymore. And I just think, as the leader of the military expedition, right? And just as knowing his backstory, I think it would just eat him alive to have to ask these questions for people he should be responsible for and for people he loves and cares for. So that against his will, he is turning into something, beyond his worst version of himself. He's turning into something else entirely. Oh, I just think it kills him.
Yeah, and I think also what this shows is that he was aware of what was happening to him, and which is terrifying in a different sense, and also that he was aware of what he is capable of doing and what harm he is able to inflict on others while he was becoming that other thing.
Yeah, and I feel like the role of protector is so ingrained in him as a person, in his character. Like the scene in the middle when he goes to talk to Elizabeth about being put under guard and wanting to go on the mission, the fact that he's so restless and the fact that he doesn't want the team to go without him to the cave. And I feel like part of me thinks it's that part of him fighting the virus, that part of him that has fear for his team and that wants to go with them to protect them. But another part of it is his need for control, like you were mentioning, Sam. I feel like it's really hard for him to, like, sit back and let other people do the rescuing or do what he thinks he's best at or what he thinks his role is on the team. And we've seen it before on the show, and we'll see it again. I mean, Hot Zone is, like, a big one, where he very much needs that control in these situations, and he just doesn't have it. He doesn't have bodily control, and he doesn't have control over his team or the situation at all. So I think that sort of desperation is interesting to see in Sheppard in this episode, for sure.
Yeah. And it sucks. I think we've talked a lot about, like, him, like, getting used to and, like, kind of like the team, like, becoming a family, right? And, like, they're sort of building up to it gradually. And it's these episodes like these that just kind of bring him back to square one.
Yeah.
Right? And that's heartbreaking. Is, like, he has to, he's growing and he's kind of, like, learning, and then he gets to this episode, and then he kind of ruins things with Teyla, and, like, people die for him and all these things, and it just kind of, like, I think it kind of brings him back into his shell. And this isn't the first time this season we're gonna see that, because then we have Epiphany, which is like, damn, double whammy. And so I just feel bad for him. He's, like, stuck in this cycle in Atlantis. Like, he can't leave because he loves it and he loves the mission and he loves his friends, whatever. But he gets put in these situations where he regresses, and he doesn't ever get to learn. He doesn't ever complete that arc.
No, and you're so right, because I feel like the desire is there. Like, he wants to trust. He wants to, but it doesn't, like, opportunities, situations don't present themselves. Like, we just had Trinity not too long ago, and in the end of this episode, although it is Beckett's idea, John has to save himself in the end, really. Like, he's the one who has to go off-world. He's the one who has to go into the cave and get the eggs. And so it's like, he does have to do it on his own, you know what I mean? Like, he does have to be his own rescuer, and everybody else's too. Save them from him and save himself at the same time. So it's just, it's terrible. It's terrible. It's so sad.
So fucking evil.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Just the nail in the coffin is the scene where, one of the scenes where Elizabeth goes to talk to him, and the team is off-world looking for the sample at this point. And she's like, do you want me to call anybody for you? And it's like, who is there for her to call? Like, his team is not on base. I doubt he's very close to anybody but her, who's currently on base right now. So, like, who is he gonna ask for? It's just terrible. There's so many lines that are just dreadful. Dreadful.
Dude, you are this one of the saddest characters in media. Like, goddamn. It's like hit after hit after hit. Damn, and he just never really learns.
No.
Because he's alone in the finale.
Yep.
Oh. Yeah, I think that's what I was so hung up on earlier, that there's just such a difference in how he perceives himself and his relationships with others than the people around him, because they obviously care very, very deeply about him. I think the scene that shows it best in this episode is when the whole team is up. I think it's after they brought, like, or when they're working on the remedy or whatever, and the whole team is up just sitting there and worrying because they all can't sleep, because they're all just so worried. And then Elizabeth joins them, which I love, because I'm so happy that she gets to be part of that family for once. Then I think, she says something about maybe saying goodbye to him just in case. And oh my god, they're just no one is having it. And the way Rodney's voice breaks when he thinks about saying goodbye, they're like, oh, the whole team, and then all of them, yeah, just stay there and stay there with him, waiting for him to wake up. I think it's just.
Yeah, there's
Both of those scenes, I think, are so underrated.
there's something about Rodney sadly eating Jello with the team that is just so. It's so cute. It's just so. The team this episode is just great. And that's the flip side of this, like, Sheppard isolation thing. It's like this warm bubble of people that are there. In reality, like, who do care about him and are there for him and do try. And yeah, those scenes that you mentioned 100% exemplify that. You know, Beckett not kicking them out of the infirmary and letting them stay with him was also really sweet.
Just fully underrated scenes, I think. Like, I feel like, you know, we talk a lot about, like, the funny and, like, sort of, like, the found family vibes. But I think they have, I don't know, I just love their, like, emotional moments. And I love when, like, this is one of the rare moments that, like, it's not just, like, oh, Teyla and Ronan. Like, it's not just, like, a pairing. It's, like, the whole team, right?
Yeah.
The whole team is sad about John, even with Elizabeth. And the whole team decides at the end to stay by his bedside in the hospital. Like, that's so sweet. Just one of my favorite things. But I was going to say, I just randomly thought of this, and I think it's so funny. I don't know if you ever watched, there's a movie called Meet the Robinsons, whatever. There's a clip, like a really funny, like, people always use this clip in, like, Twitter and stuff. There's a clip of this kid, and he's walking down the street, and he's saying in a little voiceover, he's like, they all hated me. And the kid's like, this one kid's like, oh, hey, like, why don't you come to my house? Or like, hey, do you want to hang out? Like, they're all nice to him, but in his mind, he's like, they all hated me. And that's John. Or he's like, they don't care about me. Or like, they don't love me the way that I love them. And John, you know, Teyla and Rodney are like, we love you. So it's just, I think it's funny that he's kind of like his own worst enemy.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, you even literally see it in Doppelganger. He is literally his own worst enemy.
There you go.
Like, they are not subtle with this at all. Like, they are, like, hammering home this idea. But it's just funny that I think the team cares about him so much. And I think he knows that they care about him. I just don't know if he thinks, if he's able to at this point to kind of, like, let his guard down, right? I think it's maybe too soon, maybe he thinks. And then plus then the bug thing happens and it's like, all right, back to square one. Like, I can't do it yet. And it's just, yeah.
I might be projecting at this point, but maybe he just can't accept that other people actually care that much about him.
Yeah. 100%.
Like they do. And he's just like, nah, probably not.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll discuss the team next, because they had a lot of fun stuff happening on base and off. Yeah, we have, like, all of the pre-bug stuff with Ronan and Teyla, and then the team on base,
the Teyla?
off base. Yeah, Teyla.
The Teyla bit.
Especially at the end, too.
Oh, God, yeah.
It's so interesting, because I feel like this episode, they weren't sure if they wanted Elizabeth to be the love interest or they wanted Teyla to be the love interest. And so they were kind of playing both teams. So, like, they would have a basis if they ever went either way. I mean, I like it because it gives me, like, stuff for both relationships where I'm like, okay, cool. He has a relationship with two people that are women, at least. Yeah. That it's not just men. I mean, I don't like the, like, oh, we're all vying for the same guy thing, but I do like the other stuff.
I feel like this episode is just a big one for a lot of character dynamics.
Yeah.
Involving John.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just a lot there.
Even with Rodney, even though they don't even have a direct conversation in the episode, there was a lot there. And Ronan, too. Even though he doesn't talk to John directly. Again.
I'm like, okay, we gotta move on from the John Sheppard.
Yeah.
Psycho corner. Because
he's just a void. Like, I will just continue going on about him because he's just a vortex. But let's talk about the flip side of his trauma and his team. His team really caring and loving him this episode. Tons of stuff. Tons of good stuff. I really liked when they're first talking about going on the mission, and Beckett says his egg hunt line, which is really funny since we're recording this really close to Easter. Just Rodney's facial expression when Lorne says that, Sheppard would go on a dangerous mission for their sake, so they should do it for him, as like an argument to Elizabeth to let them go on the mission. I was like, damn. Even his 2IC is like fighting for him, and that was really sweet. And it's true, right? He would.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's interesting, right? Have Lorne and John had like a single scene together?
I don't think so. I feel like it's always Lorne doing like base stuff when John is not on base.
Yeah.
Like talking with Elizabeth, but like I've never seen him talk to John, I don't think.
Okay. No. I love that then. That it's like not even a character that we've seen him interact with, and he's still like, John would do it for us, or John would do it for you guys. Like, we have to. Like, that's really sweet. But I do wish we had a John and Lorne moment.
Yeah, just because like Ford was also his second in command, so it'd be weird. I mean, it would make sense. We saw them interacting together, John and Ford, so it'd make sense for John and Lorne to hang out too. But although Lorne is compassionate, but he's also pragmatic like Elizabeth. And he does, once those two red shirt Marine dudes die, he's like, okay, mission aborted. We're not doing this anymore. Like, it's not safe. And I feel like part of that is being practical, but I think another part of him is like, you know what? Sheppard wouldn't want to risk these guys, so I'm not gonna risk them for his sake, because he wouldn't want that. Which, yeah, totally. And I also thought it was kind of comedic how when the two red shirt Marines get stuck in the cave and Lorne is like calling them on the comm and they don't answer, and as soon as they don't answer, like right away, he just throws a grenade. Like, there's no hesitation. He is like, okay, well, you're fucked. So bye.
Yeah. Rip Walker and Stevens.
Yeah.
You died a horrible death.
I don't know if they got exploded or...
Yeah, did they die before they, like, it was the explosion that killed them? Was it the bugs? Both was horrible.
Yeah. Was it like a mercy killing? Like, he didn't want them to be killed by the bugs, so, like, might as well throw the grenade so it's over quick? Like, I don't know. I don't know what the logic was.
Maybe he was like, nah, I don't want to deal with another John situation because they had one person turning into a giant bug. He was like, nah, that's enough. That's enough.
I would take a grenade over bug food. I don't know what they do with humans, but I don't want to be there to find out. Yeah, no.
I mean, they are like a precursor of the wraith or something, so they do
the neck thing.
Suck life out of you.
Absolutely, fuck not.
Gotta love them bugs.
Also, a little team banter off-world was cute too. Like when Ronan was teasing Rodney and he like turns to Teyla and winks at her, and Teyla like smiles at him. I thought that was cute. Even when they don't have lines together, Rachel and Jason always do some sort of like eye contact or something cool in a scene to make them really look like friends, which I like.
Yeah. He was so proud of his little joke, and he wanted her to approve, and I think she did.
She did. Begrudgingly, but
yeah, it was adorable, and I love how Rodney is always judging Ronan first for doing stuff like he's picking up the, I don't know, bug shit, I guess. It just smells it, and then when it turns out to be useful, he's really interested. Like, oh, okay, so what do you think? And it happens again and again. It's just really funny.
Their dynamic is so just them. That's like what they are. It's like, like Ronan will do something first, and then Ronan will be like, oh, like that's sick, and then it's helpful. And he's like, I mean, him again. And he said, let me make a note of that. You know, like he's like Rodney is definitely. I kind of just love that he's like the very much like protector. It feels like a sworn shield type of thing for Rodney. Like he's Rodney's bodyguard. So those bodyguards at you, yeah, they work perfectly with this dynamic.
Heck yeah. Like, like the scene where Rodney's like, okay, I'm gonna wait out here. Someone should wait outside the cave. And then Ronan's like, okay, you're gonna be alone here when all the Raidus bugs come flying out. And then he's like, never mind, I'll be in the middle. Like, I just love that. Like, not Ronan telling him you're a coward, but just being totally realistic and like, you're gonna be killed if you just stay out here, so it's safer if you come with us. Just the best.
I love them.
Yeah. There's that really fun shot of Lauren, Teyla, and Ronan turning to Rodney when I think he says something like, oh, we should create a diversion or something like that. And they just all like slow turn to Rodney. And there's like really underrated bits of humor here. Like it's just so cute.
Oh yeah. For a heavy episode, the off-world levity was really needed and really fun. Also, you know what? I gotta give credit where credit is due for Beckett in this episode, where I know he feels responsible, and he really, I mean, should he not? That's a debate in itself.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's, like, so brave, and he's the one who, like, goes into the cave the furthest to try to retrieve the sample is crazy. Like, he was like, we came this far, might as well actually do it.
Yeah, I definitely think that I actually do like Carson's episode. I know we give him a hard time sometimes. And I think there's that really sweet moment in the beginning where Carson is like totally blaming himself, right? And then John's kind of like comforting him in like his own little unique John way. And again, like just Carson throughout the episode is like, you know, giving Elizabeth the updates and just kind of like looking really sad and just like frantically trying to work, right? Like with his scientist, we get a whole little scene of the scientist, right? Like trying to figure out a way, right? Is it this episode where,
Yeah.
Are they talking? Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. I'm happy that they bring back sometimes like this giant group of scientists that are just there to like yell at each other and try to figure shit out. Because it's like, yeah, that's so real. So I do like that he kind of feels responsible because you kind of are.
Yeah.
And I'm happy. Thank you for taking responsibility. And I wish, obviously, we know what's going to happen later this season. So he definitely does not learn from his mistakes. No, sirree. He says, let's go full steam ahead, 100 miles per hour. But at least for this moment, at least for this episode, we can pretend that he feels semi-guilty.
Yeah, we can live in ignorance, the blissful ignorance for like a couple more episodes.
Yeah.
The rest of the season until the end.
Speaking of also kind of just like the little infirmary scene, we get a little Ford name drop.
Yeah, we do.
So happy.
It's Ford, but it's kind of like, I don't remember exactly the context, but I'm pretty sure it's because John's like, I'm gonna be like Ford.
Yeah, he says he
Yeah.
understands how Ford felt, which was kind of scary because that should not be a good thing.
No.
But he appeared relishing in the fact that he was like, "Oh yeah, this is how he felt. This is." I think it's the same scene when he says that the line with the best week of his life.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yes. And it's always John who brings up Ford. It's like he's the only one who remembers.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he feels guilty.
It-
not to bring it back.
Yeah.
Sadness. But it's definitely because I think he feels responsible. But I love that. I kind of forgot that he mentioned Ford, and you know we're gonna be seeing Ford in just a few short episodes.
Oh, yeah.
So it's nice that like finally like someone understands, because no one was just in that position where they could understand what Ford was going through, and obviously they tried to help, right? But it's not, you know, whatever they did just didn't work because maybe Ford was just like beyond help, or his insecurities took over. I don't know. It's nice that we get some acknowledgement of like, oh, okay, I get how Ford was feeling. Like he wasn't maybe entirely like crazy or whatever they want to label him as.
Yeah, and if they ever met in the future, maybe he would have more empathy for him. Although I don't know if that's really the case when that day may or may not come in the future.
I was wondering about that just now, if he brings that up, that he understands now what was going on with Ford.
Yeah.
But I can't remember.
And if he did bring it up, if it would make a difference for Ford. If Ford would care.
Yeah, probably not.
At this point, yeah, I don't know. Well, we'll see, I guess, in just a few episodes.
Yeah. Really soon.
We'll definitely have to keep a lookout for that to see. So from what I remember, no, but maybe we just weren't looking at it with, you know, our little investigative eyes. I was gonna say too, I love like how this episode is first established. I love it. We rarely get to see an episode start off with like a direct continuation of the last one. Right, and it's so interesting because this isn't technically a two-parter, but like it is.
Yeah,
like, you can't watch it, and then we get like a little break with Aurora, and then we're gonna get another two-parter.
True.
So kind of an interesting structure this season. Yeah, we get the first little scene, which I love, and then I also just love how fitting with like the horror aesthetic. I love how like domestic it is in the beginning, right? We see John just going about his normal day. We see John going on a run with Ronan, and like he's obviously like faster, and it's like okay, but they're like teasing each other. Ronan's like, or John's like, "Am I always this mean to you? Like when you win or whatever?" And Ronan's like, "Yeah," or like, "Am I a sore loser?" Whatever they say. It's cute. Ronan's like, "Fuck this, I'm out of here." John's like, "I'm gonna go on another run." So they go on a run. And then we get to the Teyla and John scene, which is so cute in the beginning. Because here they are, just sparring like I feel like they do on any regular day. And then we get something not so great. And I want to be so clear. I don't think it's not that it's a Teyla and John kiss. If they were on a date, you know, in any other episode and they kissed, I don't have to like it, but it's like, yeah, that's fine. Like, yeah, it's just not something I ship, but that's fine. In this episode, though, it's actually terrifying. It's really scary on, like, so many levels. And it just... And I don't know if it's hard to explain, right? But it's, like, in a weird way, obviously different circumstances, kind of. But, like, it's very much, like, every woman's nightmare. Because no woman wants to have their boss come on to them. No woman wants their boss to come on to them in like a work setting, right? And it's also just like the levels of like creepiness are just so deep because okay, he's her boss, right? Not only like the boss of, you know, the military division, he's like directly her boss. She reports to him. She's his subordinate, okay? Then it's like you add on to the fact that like her people, the Athosians, are still like kind of around on the mainland. We haven't seen those bitches in years, but they're there. And so it's like she like needs to kind of have this job to like stay in the know and to like keep their interests like in the minds of like the higher ups, like Elizabeth and stuff. So like she can't really not have this job. Like she's doing this for her people as well as for her. And so it's just like a really uncomfortable scene with so many layers to it, because how would she go about telling this to anyone when it's the leader of the military expedition and you're an alien? People don't trust you, right? You've already been like accused of being like a race sympathizer and all this stuff, and you're going against like the hot shot of the base. How do you express your discomfort?
Yeah. It's you said uncomfortable. I think that's one of the best ways to describe the scene. Not just this scene, but yeah, their interactions. And yeah, so obviously he acts this way because, okay, again, this is my interpretation. It's the bug DNA that makes him act this way, right? So he wouldn't do that. He wouldn't go around kiss members of his team if he hadn't been if he wasn't turning into a bug. But at this point, they don't know that. But yeah, I don't really have a point right now. But it's just, yeah, it's so uncomfortable. And I hate the position Teyla is put in, and I also hate her reaction because I don't think it's very in character.
It's just so unnecessary, right? Like, I don't get what this does for any of their characters. Teyla acts out of character. She just does nothing, and then, like, they don't address it till the end. And she's like, don't worry about it. We're fine. And it's like, okay, what was the point of that? I also think it doesn't ruin John, right? Because it's like, okay, we know it's like a bug thing. But I also think it's just like, it just makes him, and maybe this is what they were trying to go for by like making him like scary and like he's turning, like he's like changing. But I don't know. It's just like, it makes him a little too scary, right? Like, I don't know if this is them trying to test the waters to see if a romance would work, but this would be a horrible
This is
way
the worst way to test that.
test. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Have them go on a date. Have them end up being alone on a mission or something to see if the chemistry is there. Like, there's a million trillion other ways to do it, and you pick like literally one of the worst ones. Like, they don't even take off. They're on an airplane, and the ship doesn't even get off the runway. The ship breaks. They're like going down the runway, and it like explodes. Like, that's how I feel after the scene, because it's like, why on earth?
Yeah. So I think because this episode is playing into horror elements, I think I want to give the writers a benefit of the doubt and say maybe they were trying to play into like that aspect of horror, like this idea that you are not in control of your impulses and it leads you to do things that are uncomfortable or out of character. Not just a physical transformation, but like a personality transformation, and how that can be even more horrific than like a physical transformation. Because in all honesty, that scene was uncomfortable. Like, I agree with both of you. I think it was just uncomfortable. Like, the Bantos fighting was fun up until the end, where it wasn't fun anymore. And yeah, I'm hoping they didn't write it because they thought it would be like a sexy thing, because I didn't find it sexy at all. I didn't think it was at all. Because maybe if she had reciprocated and we knew that it was like a mutual thing, then it's okay. But even then, it's a little bit iffy because we know that Sheppard isn't in his right mind because he's sort of already in the transformation process. We can tell from his interaction with Ronan earlier. So, yeah, just all around, not great. If the intention was for it to be like a sexy thing and setting up a romance, terrible. If it was more for like leaning into the horror element, which I doubt, but I'm just gonna say for the benefit of the doubt, fine. Okay.
Yeah.
I accept. And also the fact that John had asked her if she was okay after, which is like, okay, a little bit of his personality is peeking through in there, so he's still in there. So I'm like, okay, we see him a little bit, so it's a little bit better, but again, still uncomfortable.
Yeah, that asking her if she's okay was like the one tiny in this scene, because before that he says that was interesting, and it makes everything so much worse.
Creepy. It's creepy.
Yeah, the creepiness is just off the scale, and yeah.
Thing though, and here's the thing though, right? I totally get where you guys are coming from in like the whole like the horror aspect, right? And I think that's fine. Like, here's how, if they wanted to keep that like horror aspect kiss thing, here's what, just have them be fighting with the sticks and then have him like suddenly like drop them and then kiss her, and then it's like, oh my god, what the fuck did I just do? What I don't like is like the build up, right? Is like the way he like pushes her against the wall and doesn't let her get off the wall, and then is like, call me John, and she's like, oh, okay, John, and then he kisses her. That's my problem, right? If it was just like we're fighting, I'm normal, suddenly I kiss you, then it's like, what the fuck did I just do? Runs away. Are you okay? Runs away. It's like the creepy, like, why is this bug sexual?
Yeah.
Like, why does this bug have like seducing techniques? Like, girl, doesn't it lay eggs? Like, it doesn't need to be doing all this. There's no whining and dining in bug culture. Like, I don't know. They didn't need to have her or him push her against the wall and like literally keep her there and like have her kind of like immobile. Like that. That's my problem with it. I really don't like that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think my thing is that for me, it just seems like such like a like they're trying to be like all cool and be like, oh look, we're hinting at like they're gonna be a romance or like they're gonna be like, you know. And I also kind of I might get a lot of hate for this, but I also just want to like kind of take a jab that it kind of seems like they were like copying Sam Jack. Wasn't Sam and Jack's like first kiss was like when they were cavemen or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was thinking the same thing.
And then they were like, "Oh no, sorry, like it was just like an accident." And then I feel like they were trying to do that thing.
But it totally falls apart because Teyla is normal and not under an influence as well.
Yeah. This is John's worst kiss.
Yeah, which is sad
Easy.
considering
Considering he has some of the worst partners. Considering there's that one where he's literally being held hostage by that terrible.
Oh no!
Like,
Keep getting her.
Good. I don't want to get to there. Oh God.
I know we're gonna be crying.
Keep blocking those episodes.
Worst John kiss by far. Didn't even use it in my edit to slander all of his kisses. I said this one's too ugly.
We can't.
Yeah.
The redeeming thing about that scene, besides the Sheppard "Are you okay" part, was Tayla's outfit. Her outfit slayed. I need her skirt.
Oh yeah.
I need her crop top. I need it. The way it flows when she's spinning around.
Gorgeous.
Awesome. She should not have to have dealt with his bug ass.
Stupid ass.
What I was wondering about is, I am pretty sure that Teyla did all her Banjo's fighting, but not Teyla, Rachel. That Teyla did all those scenes like herself. Was it also true for Joe? Do you know that?
I don't think so. Because I feel like when I was watching it, it didn't look like him at one part.
Right?
Yeah.
There was some parts where it's like, is that Joe? But I know that there is behind the scenes footage of John with like the bandos rods, but I mean they always have like a collage or something. But it's not always him, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it's probably a mix. Like I'm pretty sure he did like some, and then like the actual experience people did some of them too. Like I think it was a mix.
Like maybe they filmed it both ways too, and then maybe they liked the take with the stunt guy better for whatever reason, so they included it instead.
Yeah.
But go Rachel though.
So,
she acted her ass
she's
off
so
in this episode. Can I just say, like, all of her scenes are really good. Like, I don't know, top tier. The stuff she had to deal with, and then acting that well, it was great.
Yeah. While we're on the topic of Teyla, I want to bring up, we talked about this last episode, that she was really badly hurt because Elia just, like, threw her out of the way or something, and she probably had a concussion or something, we don't know, but she was bleeding and shit. And in this episode, like, when this one starts, it starts directly after the last scene. And where's Teyla? We don't see her. We don't see her getting into the infirmary. We see fucking Rodney. Like, it's funny. When we see Rodney having a splinter. Like, where's Teyla? Where's Teyla? Please, I need my Teyla bath scene in the infirmary right now. I wanted to write it, but I forgot. I got sidetracked.
You still can.
It's true.
We'll add it to our fic rec corner at the end of the episode.
If I manage it, yeah. But I was like hoping for like a little bit where they bring Teyla in, or she's like in the background getting her head checked or something, but nothing.
Why was it Rodney?
They just forgot about her.
That's so funny.
No, it could have. Oh, that's random though. Like obviously I love the Rodney Splinter joke.
Yeah.
They could have had like Teyla sitting there already, or like is getting wheeled into,
Yeah.
and Carson making a joke like even Teyla has a more serious injury than you, and he's just like, well, he just hit her head or something like dumb. Like, I don't know. There was opportunities were there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does make me like kind of like sad, right? We've talked a lot about how Teyla's just been kind of pushed aside or just kind of been passive this season, right? And I think she gets some good stuff, right, this episode, but she also gets bad stuff, the John stuff.
Yeah. The love interest
So
stuff that I don't like.
Yeah. And
Quotes.
so I'm nervous as we keep going into the season because we don't have a Teyla-centric episode really this season, unless you count like Michael. And that one's even worse for her.
Yeah.
I'm grateful though for the way that the episode ended. I'm glad they didn't just have them randomly kiss and just never bring it up again. Like I'm glad that they both had that talk. John came strolling in with one of his best outfits.
I
His little beach bum
Oh.
blue outfit. It's so cute. He looks very preppy.
know.
And I'm glad that they kind of have a little talk and he's like trying to apologize in his little John way. That's terrible.
Without saying
And
sorry.
he like jumps straight to it and she's like, don't worry about it. Don't strain yourself. It's okay. And they're good. And I just love that they're that like good of friends that they can just be like, all right, and they just move past it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't
I
affect
like
them after in terms
Yeah.
of continuity,
Not at all.
which is good.
Yeah.
My question is, how do you guys interpret her sigh at the end? Her blowing out air after their conversation.
Oh, I think that was just her absolutely dreading that that little talk.
Yeah.
That was my interpretation. Like she was like she knew, or she probably assumed that something was coming because they just left it as it is, and she knows John and his awkward way of trying to talk to people about feelings. So I think she probably thought about the kiss, but also in like she had it now in context with everything that happened to him, so she knew they would come to talk to her, and she just wanted to just get it behind them as soon as possible and as quickly and as possible. And then it happened, and she was just like relieved that they made it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I really wonder what they told Rachel. Like, I wonder what they were like, all right, sigh like you're in love. Or, like, I wonder what, like, direction they tried to give her for that. Because I feel like, definitely feel like the writers were like, it's because she like, I feel like they were like, it's because she, like, is thankful that, like, she doesn't have to, or John doesn't know that, like, she has feelings for him or something.
Yeah, she's
like,
flustered.
I feel like, yeah, like, she's flustered. Like, she sighed, she turned her back so he didn't see her. Like, sigh of, like, relief, like, oh, he didn't catch my feelings, or whatever. I don't believe any of that. But I definitely believe what Ash was saying. But it just makes me wonder again, like, what did they tell her? I wonder what they told her to do at the end. Like,
I like the relief route. I think that's fair. I was telling Ash earlier, I just feel like this episode is so interesting because it really focuses, it doesn't really focus on Teyla and John's relationship that much, but I feel like it tries to tease a John and Teyla relationship while at the same time teasing a John and Elizabeth relationship, because they're at a certain level of closeness in this episode as well. So it's interesting that they were like hedging their bets and trying to see like maybe what fans liked the most or who had the most chemistry on screen this episode, even though I feel like they went about the Teyla one absolutely the wrong way.
Yeah.
It's just interesting to see them setting up stuff or trying to set up stuff or test stuff out. Nice, because it gave us some really nice Elizabeth and John scenes, which I appreciated.
yeah. I mean, again, I don't ship either of Elizabeth, John, Teyla, and John. But it's interesting to me, like, just kind of sort of, like, the comparison between the two dynamics, right?
Mm.
Like, I just feel like John and Elizabeth are just so much stronger at this point in time. Like, they genuinely have like a better like friendship. They seem to just really care about each other. And you know, we have other characters like Caldwell like hinting like, oh my god, you really care for him. You're like, you guys are really close. And she's like, yeah, right? We've seen it, and I feel like we get it. That they're like, it feels, even though we haven't seen John and Elizabeth really interact as much, right, this season, because she's just been out of the show. I buy everything she's saying when she's saying like, I'm so worried about him, or like blah blah blah, like we have to help him. Like, I buy that she is that close to John. But with Teyla, right, like this episode does no favors for their relationship.
No.
When you said that it's interesting that this episode kind of highlights the John simultaneous the John Teyla and the John Elizabeth relationships, that obviously I used to ship Sparky a lot, so I was always focused on that. But now with a bit of distance and watching it again and trying not to be too biased, I again felt like there was just so much more chemistry between them, so much more. Yeah, you felt like there was something there instead of being told that there's supposed to be something there. At least that's how it feels to me with
So many ships.
With Teyla and John.
Yeah, I see what you guys are saying. I mean, for me, this is just my personal preference usually, so it might be my bias showing, but like with Elizabeth and John scenes, there is more of an emotional core. It's less about like the physical and more about the like, I care about you, I also care about you sort of thing, talking about emotions and feelings, or talking around emotions and feelings. Whereas with Teyla and John scenes in this episode, it was more like, well, I kissed you and it was awkward. Mm-hmm. It was more of a physical thing. And with no, like, emotional conversation or emotional buildup. So, yeah, I just felt like the leaning was more in the Elizabeth John direction than in the John Teyla direction for me this episode, which may or may not have been unintentional, because I have actually pulled a quote from Martin Giro from an old Gate World forum, where he basically said, Sheppard and Teyla have a very special friendship. Will it blossom into more? You'll have to wait and see in the episode Conversion. So they were really pushing the Teyla and Sheppard, and don't make any mention of Elizabeth at all as a potential romance for John. So just very mixed messaging, very strange. I don't know how I'm supposed to feel. It's just weird. You know, there is one scene where Teyla's put in a position where she might have to shoot John, and she doesn't want to. But I mean, like, I feel like anybody in her position, like Lorne or Ronan, would also be like, I don't want to shoot you with a machine gun. So it's kind of hard to be like, you know, it's because she's in love with him. No, yeah. Like, they're also friends too, right? So...
Yeah, I just wonder that if they were trying to push things so hard for this ship, or for this relationship, why didn't they do it better? Like, why didn't they, as you said, why didn't they show any emotional component there that was a bit more clear?
Yeah. Like, last season, we have some of it. Like, we have John protecting Teyla from scrutiny and suspicion and that sort of thing. But that's suspicion. That was episode 5. Like, that's the last time I can really think of that you could be like, okay.
Yeah.
Any other time, no, not really.
Spicy. Yeah, no, it definitely feels like to me they were like, okay, we're gonna do John and Teyla. And then it's like the whole, like, just the era, right? Where it's like they were casting, like, POC characters, but, like, mostly as side characters, right? And so it kind of just feels like they were like, we're going to set up John and Teyla. And then they just didn't put in the work or the effort. And they tried to, and they, like, still today, they try to gaslight us and be like, no, Teyla and John are supposed to be together. Like, in the movie, like, they ended up together. And it's like, you guys didn't even put in the effort for them to have, for Teyla to have her own solo episodes, and you're trying to tell me that John and Teyla were supposed to be the it couple.
Yeah, that's really bad. Yeah, you're so right. They didn't put in the work for the John and Teyla relationship, which is unfortunate because it is possible to make that. Like, I'm beginning to wonder if the actors agreed with this course they were taking, or with this idea, because I feel like actors can do a lot, like a lot of subtle things, like just as we mentioned, like every time it happens with Teyla and Elizabeth, for example, they have a lot of like non-verbal communication going on there. I'm not sure how much of that is was scripted and stuff, but I don't remember, like, maybe also because it's not my focus, but I don't remember a lot of that happening between John and Teyla. Like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just not seeing it. So if you're John Teyla shipper, or just enjoy or whatever, and you disagree, please tell us. Well, tell me. I know I'm genuinely interested as to what made people ship them and see this relationship.
Absolutely. I want to hear too. Screw the men and screw John being the leading man. Let's talk about the little tiny Teyla Beth crumb that we got in the episode where it was a scene where Caldwell was like, we're going to use force on John to make him submit. And then everyone was like, ooh, that doesn't sound good. And Teyla looks at Elizabeth and nods to her, like, don't worry, I'll make sure we get him back in one piece. And I love her for that, and love them for protecting him and doing their best as a team and being so, like, non-verbally parlaying information. It's just, so good.
Yeah. I forgot that this scene is in this episode because a while ago I made a post about that on Tumblr where I was just completely freaking out about this tiny hint of a crumb. Yeah, everyone is already going off, like, to go after John, and then Ronan leaves, and he asks Teyla if she's coming, and she looks at Elizabeth, and they kind of have this nod, and then they leave. And yeah, to me it's also, I like your interpretation of that, of Teyla being like, don't worry, I got you, I know what you mean, I know how to solve this without the biggest violence, the biggest bloodbath. But also I feel like it was just like a silent, the silent support between them, and Teyla kind of checking in on Elizabeth if this was actually what you wanted, and then like, yeah, okay, I got you, and I got him. We're gonna solve this. I love them.
Yeah, it's literally so cute. We were talking about it, I think, before the episode started. We're saying how little we've seen, because I mean, just Elizabeth just hasn't even really been in the show so far for this season. But I'm just happy we got a crumb.
Although I gotta mention my boy in the scene, Rodney's little nervous finger movements at the computer, where he was like just doing stuff with his hands, like not even typing. He was just kind of like, oh, I just wanted someone to give him a hug. He was so nervous.
Okay, well, since we're on the topic of Rodney, we gotta go on to McShep. I will eat this shit up. I ate this shit up. This is a great episode for those McShep coded moments. But one of my favorites is when John is going to the planet to get the little egg things. And he's got his hood up. He's not looking at anyone. He doesn't want anyone to see him. Sorry, Rodney's super excited. He's like, hey, or he's like saying like, oh my God, like you're out. And his smile dropping when he notices that John's not even looking at him and is just fully going straight into the wormhole was, wow, hurtful.
I know. It's so like, it's such a moment because it's so interesting to see Rodney trying to be like optimistic and happy and like cheer John up instead of it being like John distracting Rodney from his like doomsaying. And it's such a different feeling. It's so oh man, you just want to squish Rodney for trying his best in that scene.
Just some great Shep crumbs overall.
Yeah.
Like almost every scene.
Yeah, even without them having to directly interact. Like, again, the Jell-O scene, which is iconic. I really love that scene where he's really upset about having to say goodbye to him. And, you know, the look on his face when Lorne talks about how Sheppard would do anything for them. Because I think in his heart he believes it's true, too. And I don't necessarily believe in this interpretation, but I thought it was really cute, and I will share it on our pod. I had gifted the scene in the infirmary once where, just the beginning scene with the splinter, and someone had mentioned the tags, like, oh, maybe Rodney is tagging along not just because of the splinter, but because John's pride wouldn't allow his team to, like, fret over him for something like a minor injury. So Rodney's, like, their, like, in guy, and he's going to the infirmary, he's going to report back to Teyla and Ronan and be like, he's fine, he's just, they did just stitches, he's okay, once he gets his splinter taken out, which I thought was cute. It's a cute thought.
Aww. That is a cute thought. I thought you were going to say that he just didn't want to, that he wanted to check just on John and see that he's maybe not alone. And he's like, I'm here for you, boo.
Yeah, exactly. With my boo-boo.
Yeah. No, I see, when you were saying that, I was like, okay. I was like, I don't know if I believe that. And then you said the part of, like, him reporting back to Teyla and Ronan. I was like, I believe that.
Yeah.
I don't believe that Rodney would go to the infirmary just to be there with John and pretending to have a splinter. That man dead does have a splinter.
Yeah.
I believe that he got a splinter and he was like going, and Teyla and Ronan pulled him aside and were like, report back to us. And he was like, all right, got you. And then he went in, very loudly complained about the splinter so no one would notice. And then he scampered back to them and said, he's fine. Yeah.
Which
That's
he
how
wasn't,
that went down.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah. Well, they had no idea.
They care about him
They do.
so much.
Yeah, even Ronan wanted to go in by himself into the Aratus cave and get the sample himself because he was like, maybe if I go alone, I'll be more stealthy and it'll work. They're ride or die, all four of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5.
5, throw in Carson.
Yeah.
Fuck it. 6, throw in Lorne.
True.
Fuck it. The whole
I
team,
mean,
the whole base.
the two guys who died actually did die for him.
Yeah.
True.
You're right. I was gonna say too,
Oh,
just a
no.
little random funny side note since we're on Ronan. The way when Ronan picks up John anytime, it literally looks like Joe is a Barbie doll next to Jason Momoa. When he picks him up, it's just like, you look fake.
Which
You
is
look like this
insane.
child's toy.
Because they're
Yeah.
both extremely tall. Like, both of them are over 6 feet, right? Isn't John also? I mean, Joe also. Like, so
Yeah.
like him carrying another 6 foot something dude, and making
Yeah.
him look like the tiniest guy on Earth is insane. Also, the lightest guy on Earth.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's because he's so like kind of skinny, or you know, Jason's like, not that even. The funny thing is that Jason wasn't even peak like Momoa, right? He
No.
wasn't peak like Khal Drogo strength, right? He was just like a big guy with some decent muscles. So imagine if he like picked up John, you know, like 10 years later. Like, Jesus, the size difference would be crazy.
Oh man, it's not too late. Maybe one day we'll see it.
Aw.
I think one scene, I don't know if that's significant, but one scene that I know like, because it involves Elizabeth, of course. Throughout the episode, Elizabeth continues to visit John in his man cave. And he just, when he continues to devolve, whatever. And I think it's the last time she goes to visit him, and I don't even remember what the bad news are, but she goes in there alone, and I think she's so brave. I don't know. I would be terrified seeing what he did so far, like smashing the window in her office and shit like that, and just slowly becoming a lizard person. And I don't know, but the scene I'm talking about is the one where he chokes her. Maybe.
Yeah.
And that's just insane to me. And I because I'm just such an Elizabeth stan, I think I might have written a fic at some point, sometime way back, where I explore a bit her feelings in that scene and how she must have felt of just getting almost the life choked out of her in that scene, and him stopping. He doesn't kill her, which is, I don't know. I think that's also maybe still the John shining through, that he hurts people. Yeah, he hurts her, and also the two Marines who are outside his door on guard, and but he still holds back, and he doesn't hurt anyone badly. But yeah, I thought I don't know why, but this scene is, I like the scene when he kind of drops her, and she slowly, like she and then I'm not making any sense right now. I'm just rambling because I like the scene.
It's a good one.
But I don't know. I think it speaks again to Elizabeth's character, that even after she almost died, in my interpretation, she still somehow managed to collect herself and go outside and check on the other people who look seriously injured and probably lost their consciousness right now, and just inform the base what is going on right now. And yeah, that's it. That was a lot of rambling. I'm sorry.
No, you're totally right. And like even her, continuing to talk to him and try to reason with him, like while she's getting choked out, is pretty admirable too.
It's insane.
Yeah.
But one last question, just something we have not really talked about, because we're so obsessed with his sadness. But I wanted to ask a question for the gang, a really important question, one that has been debated countless times over. I'm really curious to see what you guys think. Is Bug John hot?
Listen. As the resident monster fucker in this house, on this podcast, maybe the first to say.
Yeah? Why don't you say it? I want to hear you say it.
I think
your whole chest.
I think I'm gonna be the lame-o here and say I find the like half transformed, half untransformed Sheppard to be at his peak. The full one is just too bug for me, and also I feel like he looks more fucked up when he's like half normal and half not normal. So I'm gonna go for the most grotesque peak grotesqueness for me and say, yeah, mid-transformation Sheppard can get it.
You know what? As a not monster fucker,
yeah, let me know. I'm biased.
You know what? I will make the exception. I do think he's hot till a point.
Yeah, there we go.
Right? And then at one point it's too fishy, it's too scaly, a little too reptilian. I'm not trying to feel that type of material rubbing up against me.
Fair.
Well, yeah, no. See, up to a certain point, yeah. Get yourself
I feel like I'm just gonna make it much more weirder.
Oh, go for it.
Well, we already are here.
We're here. I'm the weirdest, so it's okay. I paved the way.
I paved the way.
Because, okay, so baseline, I'm gonna say no. But oh shit. Sorry, I have to. I'm just making it all weird now. I feel like through his transformation, his hands were getting bigger, and I like hands. I think hands are. It's very weird, and I know this is weird, but I don't really like his monster hands. But okay, maybe I do.
Embrace it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my verdict.
So it's like
That's fair.
only his hands. Though.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I can get behind that.
If you would have said feet, we would have had to kick you out.
Yeah, that's a different story. That's not
We
okay.
never saw them.
Stop! Stop! Don't even joke about that.
I'm joking.
We are hand enthusiasts
I draw the line.
at feet.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's my line. That's
That-
honestly my line.
That's one thing I will kink shame to no end. Everything
Yeah,
else
I'm
is fine,
begging.
but that's just not okay. To me. Yeah, I'm trying to like remember the monsters in my life that are like okay, and I'm trying to think about them now. And I'm thinking, okay, in The Shape of Water, he had like flippers, right?
Think of that movie as well. It would make sense because he's a water creature.
Yeah, and then his character in Hellboy similarly has flippers, I think. I could be wrong.
Oh. Flippers.
I love that you're just bringing up Doug Jones.
Yeah, I'm sorry. He always plays
It's
like,
fine because yeah.
you know, monsters.
Yes.
So,
I mean, he's the reason I'm an alien fucker, okay?
yeah!
Oh.
One of
Okay,
us.
you know what? Me and Half Bug John could live a great life in a cave.
Oh, you cannot wait for my fic recs this week. They're just you.
We're gonna live in a cave with John. Oh my god! I'm so excited. Oh my god. That'd be great. Anyways, well, I'm glad we settled this debate.
Yeah,
Me too.
you heard it here first, folks. And please message us, add us on Twitter, add us on Tumblr. Tell us what you think about Bug John. We want to know.
Yeah.
Inquiring minds want to
Is
know.
he hot or
Yes.
not?
Yay or nay? Smash or pass?
Would you smash or pass. Okay, wait, okay, one last thing. Okay.
All the kids are saying it these days.
Okay, Wraith. Ori. No, sorry. Wraith.
Ooh.
No, Wraith, Ori,
Ooh.
Gould.
Ooh.
Fuck, Mary, kill.
Oh
right now.
no!
Oh!
This is terrible. Oh my
Honestly,
god.
kill the
Ooh.
Ori. Kill the Ori.
Yeah.
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 They're
Yeah.
annoying.
So Mary Gould, no question. If it's like ball,
You're right, you're right.
like
I mean, ball. Yeah.
I
Ball
would
exists.
fuck, marry, and kill that guy. To be honest, but
Yeah.
if I had to, I would marry him. And
You're
then fuck because I wanted to kill the Ori because they just.
No, yeah, the aura need to die.
I would have to fuck right.
Yeah. Because, like, it wouldn't be bad. Just, like, put their hand, like, make sure they're not, like, sucking you while,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you don't, yeah, right? It's just, like, move the hand away, and you're
Maybe,
good.
You
Close
can
your eyes.
just-
And it can just be a one-time thing. It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
like-
exactly. That's what I'm thinking as well. If like I don't want their. That's one time I don't want their hands near me.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like no, you can. Sorry, just tie them up or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just tie them to the headboard. It's fine.
I mean, they all look like they're leather people anyway, so it's fine.
True. Yeah. Yeah.
What have we done?
I don't know.
Although alright, corporeal.
Oh.
Well, here's the thing.
Because
here's
that's
Adria,
pretty
fuck.
interesting.
If it's Adria, fuck.
Oh,
If it's anyone else, death,
Yeah.
jail.
Yeah.
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 Because who would want to
Burn
be
them.
married to the Ori? Like, that's like being married to, like, a
Yeah.
youth pastor.
Yeah.
The most
yeah,
toxic
like
youth
a
pastor.
sect or something. Yeah. It's yeah.
Your worst nightmare, because then they have to drag. You have to go to like prostration and like be a good
Right?
example.
Exactly.
Oh, hell no.
No.
Nah.
No.
Nope.
Also, what's her name? Oh my god, I don't know. It was a random ass goal, but I'm always like, oh my god, she's so pretty. Amaratsu, the Japanese
yes!
school.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Fair.
Ooh,
I
yeah.
forgot.
You know, she actually auditioned to play Teyla. She could have played Teyla.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow, I
That's
didn't
cool.
know that.
Yeah.
that would have been interesting.
I think she could have done. Obviously, we love Rachel.
Yes.
Don't want anyone to change.
Yeah.
No.
Right, Rachel's great, but I think
Questions.
honestly she would have done great too because she's just pretty.
Yeah.
Yes.
She was great.
I think seeing her fight with the Bantu sticks would have been.
Ooh,
Yes, please.
Yeah. Yes. sexual awakening.
Yeah,
Another one. I'm not sure, but I feel like I'm not sure if I can pronounce her name, but Noji.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She looks. Man, this is getting personal. But she looks like a woman who could crush me, and I kind of like that.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
So
Fair.
I mean,
Honestly,
her arms, her damn,
Yeah.
She-
Yeah.
damn.
That's fair.
I was gonna say her too. She's just straight up evil. But I can
She's-
ignore that for
she's
2 seconds.
scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's scary. But ooh, damn.
I think balls are number one choice though.
Yeah. I think so too.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Fair.
Anyways, let's wrap this up.
Anyway, the episode.
Back to the recording. And that was it for the main portion. Next up is our Bechdel test. Ash.
Yeah, this episode does not pass.
Yeah.
As far as
Yeah.
I can remember, I didn't write anything down, but I don't accept the non-verbal scene between Taylor and Elizabeth. I don't remember anything. Way to remember on screen. So, wah.
Wah, wah, wah. And then next up, we got the behind the scenes with Tor.
All right. So, getting into the behind the scenes. In the Stargate Atlantis, the official companion for season 2. This was a one of those book magazine things that were published in I think 2006 with after the airing of the season. It revealed that this episode was Rachel Lutro's first on-screen kiss. And according to the audio commentary for the episode, her parents were actually on set for it. Yes.
Oh, wait, so it was her first on-screen kiss ever?
On-screen kiss
Or
ever.
in Stargate?
Ever.
Oh my gosh.
And her parents were
Oh.
there.
Oh no.
Oh my
That's
god, we
awkward.
just slandered the hell out of that scene, those scenes too.
That's so awkward. How awkward is that? Like, mom, dad, want to come to set and watch me kiss this guy a million times? Well, watch this guy kiss me a million times, not even the other way around.
Oh no.
Yeah, I just thought that was interesting. Another interesting tidbit. Some of the items in John Sheppard's quarters, the surfboard and the picture of Evel Knievel, is actually Joe's personal items. So that's actually him in that picture. And the
Oh.
surfboard is his too.
I definitely feel like a lot of Joe went into John.
Oh, yeah.
And they just keep proving us right.
Oh, yeah. The scene where Tayla's like, don't make me do this to Sheppard, and he's like kind of above her on the stairs, is a parallel to the previous episode, Instinct, where Sheppard said, don't make me do this to Elia, who was perched on the tree above him.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, I didn't catch it either.
Oh, whoa, fun.
In a post on the Gate World forum, Martin Giro wrote, just finished watching the Conversion Final Mix. Pretty great episode if I do say so myself. I think it may be the best Joe has been so far. He's really fantastic. Plus, the visual effects are amazing. James Ticknor and his team are doing a really great job this year. Wait till you see a whole nest of Aratus bugs. So creepy.
Yeah, that's so true. I feel like, I guess since we've already watched the show, right, we kind of already know, like, what episodes are, like, when the actors shine, kind of. But we didn't really talk about it. But yeah, Joe's performance is, like, crazy good. Like, his whole transformation and, like, as he goes into more of, like, his bug state. It's really good. Everyone was great. Everyone.
I agree. Todd Han, who plays the Bravo leader, I'm assuming a random military guy in the episode, not one of them that died, previously played Sergeant Gibson in the SG-1 episode Prometheus.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. And Matthew Harrison, who played the scientist, who was talking about viable options for like using stem cells and stuff, previously played Darian in the SG-1 episode Double Jeopardy. Not to be confused with Darian from Sailor Moon. He was the dude with the hair, and he wasn't that important. It's okay. One little thing that might be considered a goof in the episode is that a stasis pod could have been used to prevent Sheppard's mutation from going further. So if they were really pressed for time, they could have just stuck him in there and halted his, well, not halted, but slowed his biological process so that they would have more time to find a cure. But it worked out in the end, so it's okay.
Maybe they didn't want to overuse that opportunity.
Yeah. Because the stasis pod is kind of like anybody who is in jeopardy could just be shoved in there for eternity.
Yeah.
So, and that's all we got for behind the scenes.
Nice. There you go. And then we're actually going to pass it right back to Tor for this week's Fic Corner. There's a lot to go through. And I'm excited.
Yeah, this week was fun for me because I love when fic really leans into the science fiction aspects of the show, stuff that we've seen on the show, and just like goes even harder with it. And one subgenre of SGA fic that is very much to that tune is Bug John fic, which is always a good time and is always super fun. My favorite of the genre, I believe, is called Sequelae by The Spike. And it's just one of my favorite Atlantis fics ever in general. It will make you laugh and it will make you cry. Basically, the Atlantis expedition has been recalled back to Earth for some period of time. Rodney and Zelenka are still working together at the SGC. Rodney and John haven't really seen each other in a long time because they had an argument after they returned from Atlantis. And suddenly, John shows up at Rodney's door asking, but not actually asking, for help because he's turning into a bug again. So basically, his symptoms return and they try to figure out how to stop him from turning into a bug while he's living on Earth. So hijinks ensue. There's also a lot of seriousness, some emotional stuff. It's really great. I love any sort of Atlantis fic that takes place in a sort of nebulous post-series time where the Atlantis expedition has been recalled for whatever reason and they have to readjust to Earth life, because there's some sort of like bittersweetness and angstiness that I like, and homesickness that I think is very relatable and sweet. So yes, definitely a must-read. It's really good. Another one I have on here is a little more silly, but it's pretty funny. It's called Keepsakes by Taste is Sweet. And basically, it's just asking the question, what if they didn't turn Sheppard back at the end of the episode? And Rodney had a hard time letting go, to the point that he actually makes an enclosure for Sheppard to stay in, so that he's safe, they're safe from him, and he can kind of stay-ish. Anyways, it's weird, but it's really funny and sweet, and totally recommend anyone go read it. Another one is Dreaming of I'm Alive by Cesare. And it is Jen slash pre-slash, if you squint your eyes and kind of look at it slightly on an angle. When John is exposed to the Aratus retrovirus from conversion again, the team bands to help. But there are some things John has to face alone. Basically, I remember a lot of the fic John being in like a jungle planet. It's a lot of fun. It's a very adventure-y story where the team is really trying their best to help John, and of course John is like trying to lone wolf it, which is kind of stuff that we talked about in this episode. So if you're interested in that, definitely give that a read. I think Gen fic in general should be read way more because there's super interesting stuff out there that's not always romance related. So yeah, give it a look.
Wow. Thank you so much for all of your recommendations. What the heck? We're eating good this week. Well, I think that's it. Is that all? I think we all really enjoyed this episode. I definitely really enjoyed it. I mean, there's something for everyone. Even though there's some things that I really don't like in it. I think they're pretty small. And you can kind of overlook it for the most part. But I am just obsessed with all of the dynamics that they kind of emphasize. Especially the team one. And just the insight into John is just chef's kiss. Great episode. I don't know if I can rate it maybe like a 9 or an 8.
Yeah, it's similar for me. I used to love this episode because of the Sparky aspect. Now I love it still because of the John Elizabeth scenes and all the other dynamics that we mentioned. Except some. No, I think this is a great episode. I like that it's one of those that takes place a lot of it takes place in Atlantis. I always love to see that. I love what we get to see about John and learning more about his troubled character, and really, really fun to watch. I was thinking about a rating, and I don't know why, but I was going for an 8 out of 10, which might be surprising because I tend to rate really, really high. But I'm not sure what's missing. But I really enjoy this episode, and it's one of those that I watched a lot of times. Fun episode.
Yeah, I agree. I really love this episode. I think it's always fun when Stargate leans into really fun sci-fi tropes, and their little homage to The Fly in this episode is just so good. I love that John was the afflicted person because it felt like it was a great way to explore his personality while also exploring really cool horror facets, both like physically and mentally. It was fun to see his relationships with different characters, both kind of explicitly and implicitly through dialogue and through action. I really loved Elizabeth in this episode. I missed her this season. I think she really shined. Every scene she was in was awesome. Nothing but love for her leadership skills and just her compassion as a person, and her love for her team and her people. Yeah, I think I'd give this episode, this is hard. I might just give it a 9 out of 10. Maybe it loses a point for me for the whole, like, trying to set up a John-Teyla relationship in the most clumsy and terrifying way possible. That ends up not going anywhere in the future. But yeah, other than that, A+. All the things I love in a Stargate episode.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. Be sure to check out our links in the description if you want to check out the fics, and our link to our socials, our public, our private, see what we're up to. Besides just the Jumping Puddles podcast. Everything you can check out is down below. And we'll be back next time with Aurora.
Ooh. That's another fun one.
Amazing episode. I can't wait. So, thanks for hanging out with us today.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, you clowns, listen up. I don't often get a chance to say this, so savor it. Good work, boys and girls. Let's go home.